In the next 3 lessons, we're going to really break down exactly how to build an urgent, a calm, and a creepy cue. Okay, so I'm going to give you really plenty of hands-on experience with this. I'm going to give you demonstrations that you can copy and duplicate. But I want to talk a little bit more here in this lesson about a step-by-step approach. And I'd recommend that you kind of follow these steps one at a time when you're creating your variation, your first variation. Okay, so the first thing is you really want to work in MIDI. Now, the reason you want to work in MIDI is that it enables you to take a melodic or a harmonic idea, in other words, a melody or a set of chords, and then just quickly change it up. Hand your melody to an oboe and hand it back to a trumpet to kind of see how things change. You can also speed things up, change tempos very easily with MIDI, and then just listen to it and make it a little bit more intuitive, a little more of a human experience to just listen to how does that tempo change or how does that timbral change affect my variation, right? So work in MIDI as much as possible, and in the next 3 demonstrations, you're going to see me doing that a lot. So here are the steps you're going to follow, okay? We're going to experiment with changing rhythm and tempo. That's really important because tempo and rhythm conveys emotion in a very powerful way, and that's the main topic of this course, is creating like game music for specific emotional situations. Now, the next step you want to look at is maybe switching between different major and minor feels. So generally, major and minor, people think of as happy and sad, but remember that minor also is very reflective, very nostalgic, very powerful. So a lot of hit pop songs are written in minor keys because they're so emotive. So think about switching up between major and minor depending on the context, creepy or happy, urgent, calm, those sorts of emotional contexts. The next thing you want to look at is experimenting with different melodies, okay? And you're going to see me do this in the next 3 lessons where I give examples of building my cues. I'm going to talk about chord tones, color tones, and chromatics, okay? So chord tones are literally pitches that are inside the chords. And these have a tendency to sound very innocent, very grounded, very cheerful. Then there are color tones. Now, these are tones that are in our scale, but not necessarily in the chords themselves. And they tend to lend a sort of gravitas, a sort of sense of gravity or weightiness, right? And you're going to see me use these in the next few examples when I actually create my cues on screen for you to watch. Now, a third type of tone that you might want to experiment with your melody is a chromatic. And a chromatic is a tone that's not in the scale. It's not in the chord. And sometimes it'll sound terrible, but sometimes they can sound really cool. A lot of really great music is made using a lot of use of chromatics. And what they do is they create tension. Okay, so they convey tension. That's going to be really helpful in, say, the creepy cue. And the final step in the step-by-step that you want to follow when you're creating your variation is to experiment with different kinds of colors and timbres, right? So different instrumentation, different ranges. And this is where it's really helpful to be working in MIDI because you can write a melody, you can create a busy melody, right? And then maybe just copy it and simplify it so it's not as busy. And then you can see, well, which one do I like? Do I like busy? Do I like more simplified, more broken down? But then you can also take that MIDI and you can send it to a synthesizer, and then you can send it to a clarinet, you can send it to a violin or a piano, and you can ask yourself, do I like the way this sounds better? Does it fit the emotion I'm trying to convey? That's all very easy to do if you're working in MIDI, so I highly recommend working in MIDI, writing your chords out, writing your notes out in MIDI, and you're going to see me do that in the next few lessons where I'm going to break down for you exactly how I create my 3 cues, and you can use them as kind of a starting point and a reference point for creating your own 3 cues, your urgent cue, your creepy cue, and your calm cue. So let's move forward and look at how I've developed my 3 cues in this style.